community all meet up at Syracuse University. This was kind of collaborated and created thanks in part to Dr. Ninka Dosa from the Golisano Upstate Children's Hospital. And she invited in Alex Truesdell and her team from Adaptive Design Association down in New York City. So their program kind of gave us our roots here in Syracuse and taught us all about the adaptive design effort that they were leading down in the city. So we had a 3-day, really intensive weekend build-a-thon with 4 families. And it was led by the Adaptive Design Association with, like I said, a collaborative effort of designers from the School of Design at Syracuse University, clinicians from around the area, teachers, therapeutic rec, a whole group of really interesting individuals that wanted to be part of this and learn the adaptive design technique. And it just blossomed from there. It was a hit. We saw, engagement with the families, bringing the families into the design process of using really affordable, readily available, just basic materials to solve these adaptive design solutions really quickly, in real time, and involving the family. And we're like, wow, this could be really big in the community.
Yeah.
And could have a really massive impact. So we kept the effort going. It was a completely volunteer effort for the first about year and a half. And then we approached Arise back in 2017 and asked them if they wanted to take us on as a program under their umbrella of many other great disability programs. And they did. And that's how we kind of came to be here in Syracuse.
Awesome. Connor, I just want to circle back to that weekend, the first design charrette we did with, we had 4 families, 3 families?
4.
4 from the greater Syracuse area, central New York. And we had, like you said, we had, designers, clinicians, doctors, teachers. We had, professors from SU. We had a paper engineer from ESF for a little while there. We had students from SUNY Cortland. So this was truly a collaborative effort from all walks of life from across the area. I absolutely love that. Plus it was during Taste of Syracuse that summer. So it was pretty nice to be able to sneak out for 15 minutes and go grab a meatball right down the street. So that definitely stands out about the weekend for me. But I just remember, having a disability and myself growing up with one, and always going to see physical therapists and then going to see my doctor and then going to school and then seeing my therapist in school and then going home and working with my parents on stuff that I needed to get done. And then this and then that. And it was just really interesting for me to see all of these people that we normally see behind closed doors one at a time, all together, working together to create something right there. I often talk about, seeing a physical therapist and then a doctor and having them write a script for a piece of equipment. And I forget about it by the time it gets to me because it takes, 4 months, 6 months, a year. And we built pretty sophisticated material, pretty sophisticated pieces of equipment in one weekend. And the families took them home with them that weekend. And I just wanted to stress that because it's one of my favorite parts of adaptive design. We have the families working together with all these people and the conversation kind of changes a little bit. So Rory, I know you talk about Mark and how kind of, handy he is with building stuff around the house. So we all kind of have adaptive design built into us. We just don't really know what to call it all the time. So, yeah.
Well, and I think that we as a family were lucky enough to be introduced when our Hugo was little to this idea of being creative, using, I told the story on the last one of Hugo's early OT, Lisa, and she walked into our house one day with pool noodles and a roll of duct tape. And she was like, you can do anything with these two items.
Right.
And so, we were lucky enough to have that as a base. But I think so many families, Peyton, like you were just saying, it's this day to day, and your days are so scheduled and there's so many things going on that it's almost like you don't even have the time to think creatively or
Right.
innovatively, or to even
Right.
say to yourself, hey, that $4,000 piece of equipment, I wonder if we could do something like that.
Mhm.
And so, Connor and Tracy, I think what you're doing is such a gift to families too, because you're introducing this idea of creativity and this idea of innovation.
Mhm.
And, I think that's such a great piece of it. Can you talk a little bit about, like, well, one, you guys know I love the materials that you use, but just kind of the different pieces of equipment and the different types of things that you've been able to do with families.
Sure. I'll jump in a little, and then I'll kind of pass it on to Tracy too, to kind of talk about the different types of equipment we've made. So like you said, I know you're hinting at this, and I'll get right to it. The main building material we do use is cardboard, and it seems crazy and out there. And when we say cardboard, people usually like give us a second look, and it's a great building material. So hear us out. It's lightweight, it's affordable. We're very fortunate. Buckeye Corrugate in Inc. in Syracuse, New York, is very generous and donates all of our cardboard stock right now, at no cost to us, which is really nice. And Westrock did before that. So some great industries right in town here, that are helping push this effort forward. But this cardboard we usually use is triple wall, so it's a little sturdier than and bigger than your typical like Amazon box. This is something that would they would ship a refrigerator or watermelons, and it's really heavy duty, holds a ton of weight if oriented properly. And so that's kind of that, building technique that the ADA program in New York City taught us how to use this material and build in the correct way to make these nice, robust, strong, beautiful pieces of equipment. But I just wanted to touch back on one thing with what you were saying, Peyton, and that community effort. That was actually something that kind of shocked and illuminated the whole Adaptive Design Association, their outlook on this approach too, because in Syracuse, they kind of have their own team that is in-house and creates these products for people down in the city. What happened in Syracuse was like this community effort came out, and we engaged the families in the building too, which wasn't initially the plan. When the families were going to come, we were going to do an assessment, and then we were going to build for them. But we're like, they're here, and they can be totally part of this, and they should be part of it, and they should be the center part of it.
Right.
And that's what we've really kind of honed in on and believed in, is making the user the center of the design team. They're the one guiding us on, what they like, what they want, what they need, and we're just kind of the hands to make it happen, and kind of make that dream come true.
Yeah, I remember that weekend. We had that plan of using the designers and trying to shape something, but we kept coming back to the families to ask them, well, if it's not going to work like this, what about this? And I remember a couple of families just immediately jumped right into the building process and getting their hands dirty, or get a little Elmer's glue going. And it kind of just snowballed really quickly, which was really fun to see.
Like you said, they've been doing it at home the whole time.
Yeah, right.
Giving them the right tools and space and time to really get creative and
Yeah,
dive into it. Yeah.
cool.
Well,
Yeah.
I think parents too so many parents feel helpless, like they do what they can for their child. So I think too, like I know for Mark, when he's able to build something or to do something for Hugo, it like fills him up in a way that few other things in his life can. And so I think for so many families too, it's that piece of it, and they probably don't even realize that they're missing it until they're able to actually help make something and fit it to their child and say, what color do you want it to be, or something like that.
It's such
Yeah.
a huge sense of empowerment that comes from that, taking charge and leading the effort in creating something for you or your child. Yeah, it's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Tracy, do you want to touch on this? Is, by the way, I am Connor McGowan, the program coordinator. This is my right-hand man, Tracy Fleming, who is our amazing fabricator here in the shop in Syracuse. So Tracy, I'll let you do a quick intro, and yeah, if you want to kind of touch on some of the equipment, different types of like equipment categories we've done and made and worked on.
Sure. And Connor, while I introduce myself, I'd like to just touch on Rory's point about her husband and being handy, and kind of that, how rewarding that is, excuse me, in being able to apply this in this way. So one thing that I've noticed in my career, I came out of education. I'm retired from a 31-year career in education as originally a technology educator, and then got into a lot of technology related things, director of technology, and been a real sordid career. However, I've been a gadgeteer forever, but not everyone is. And Rory, to your point, or whoever brought up the point about all of the different people, I think it was Peyton, in the room, in the space at the same time, there's a synergy that develops around that that I don't think can happen without all of us there at the same time.
100%.
So your point about Connor, the different types of things we do. So we have we have artists, we have teachers, we have all sorts of people that our volunteers bring all different sorts of skill sets. But one of them happened to be our art metal worker. So one would think, what can we do that for? Well, goodness, that kind of, holy cow, that was like a gold mine to find. And that led itself into us being able to create an adapted riding stirrup for a young lady who was never able to like post and stand up in the saddle. And the ability for us, this is an elementary art teacher who provided a great deal of the foundational structure to that device with a clinician there with the family on the horse. It's just amazing. You can't describe my legs a tingle right now when I describe that experience. So anyone that has an opportunity to be involved and participate in one of these builds should really try to do it. You will not find this type of experience anywhere else. I've done a lot of things, but I will never leave this. I will do this for as long as I can.
I love hearing that, Tracy.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I think that, one of the things you were talking about with working with different types of people, whether it's an artist or someone who's really good with woodworking or something like that, all these different materials have their different uses, and one where it's just like people, and that's a big point when it comes to disability. Everybody has their strengths, and where do we implement them, and how do we inspire that? And I think one of the underlying things with adaptive design is that we take all these different materials like cardboard. You'd never think to build with cardboard. As Connor said, people always give you the kind of the side eye, like, cardboard, you're making what out of cardboard? And if you build with it correctly, it can be very, very strong and really helpful. We haven't posted the guidebook yet. It'll be featured on the Fit In website by the end of this week. And the front page is actually of Tracy sitting with one of the rockers, and it's painted it's gorgeous. It's like a landscape view of a sunset, and it's just gorgeous.
I have it right here too.
Yeah,
I do have it.
Yeah, let's see it because it's just, oh my gosh. I mean, that could be in a museum, and it probably will be someday, because look at that. It's amazing.
Well, and Peyton, again, this is just a retired teacher from Oswego who heard about this and thought, like, hey, what can I do? So I said, well, I'll toss a perch at you and you can just have some fun.
Go for it. Yeah.
You know, that's it. So the real beauty around this, however, is taking these artists who have that skill. Now I can build it. I can build you the structure, but I can't make that beautiful. And then bring the family into it. So when that family says, well, my son or my daughter loves monster trucks, for instance. We once did a thing that was a complete monster truck themed stander for a child, and our artists did such an amazing job. But they're stunning. So again, it comes back to that synergy. We can't do it alone, but together we can break down barriers that seem impossible.
And just if I can jump in on that, that specific project, that was a fun one, and it's one I always use as an example. Is and think something you've touched on, I know in your last session, with the sensory pathways, same idea. It's using play to engage in those kind of tedious therapy routines that the children might not want to do because it seems like work. But when you incorporate play into the whole idea of it, and focus more on that, it doesn't feel like work anymore. And that's something that young individual, he was struggling. The family, was trying to get him to want to, stand more and work on his ability to go from sitting to standing and standing upright for longer periods of time. And it was a struggle. So he came in and we were going to build a stander that was, unique to his specific size and ability. And while they were there, we just, you just get talking, what is he like? And just chatting with him. And the whole time, like, he wanted to watch a monster truck video on the phone. And they're like, he's crazy about monster trucks and just loves them. So we're like, well, let's just make his stander a monster truck.
Yeah, right.
Like, why not? We can do whatever. And I mean, sky's the limit. So yeah, fortunately we did that, and we made like an activity tray, sensory activity tray that could be locked on the front of it. And Tracy did an amazing job. We bought some old toys, ripped the guts out of them, put wiring and circuitry and lights and sounds into this thing. So he had his own key. He could plug in, turn the engine on, rev it, and
oh my gosh,
and stand and pretend to drive a monster truck while he was standing. And for the next year, the family touched base with us, and he would stand in it every day. He would copy Dad, who would go out to get coffee before work, and he would say, I got to get my coffee. And he would get up in front of the window, stand, and go drive his monster truck to go get his coffee.
That's so good.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Tracy, what you got for us?
Yeah, I was just going to say, even that particular device, the solutions themselves are so multi-dimensional. So absolutely how engaging the fun side of that was for that child. However, the therapeutic side of that was he's standing, he's getting more activity, he's doing
dexterity keys. Yeah,
absolutely. But so I'll just bridge us into another thing that we've sort of gotten involved with, and Connor, it's again synergy and coincidence, but adaptive design was starting to get involved with some 3D printing when I joined this group. And I've been an avid 3D printing enthusiast. I actually have a little 3D printing service. So I'm Mr. Geek about 3D printers, but that particular project, it's just warms your heart.
Yeah.
That little device didn't have an actual functioning key, but it did have a little opening that we were able to turn into a switch. We 3D printed and designed a key that had his name on it. That was his key for his truck. And when he would put that key in, it would actually start the motor running. And it's just, so it's all about the multi-dimensional parts of these solutions that just all come together to create a very functional, very valuable tool that is driven by what's perfect for that recipient. What it's focused.
Man, like I said, I could talk about this all day, but just that specific project alone, they were looking for a standard. What when we got talking, we got building and getting creative, like you said. Like when Tracy said, "How could he use a key?" And they're like, actually, like that fine motor function he struggles with on this one side. And working on that dexterity was important too, but something they weren't thinking. They were thinking standard, so it has to be a standard, and that's the one device it is.
Mhm.
We're like, we can build this into a multifunctional piece of equipment. So that, I mean, it worked on multiple things besides just him standing. So then,
Yeah.
you know, to be able to turn his truck on, we had to, you know, it had to be on one side where he struggled more. So he
Mhm.
had to work on that hand and that arm to be able to turn it on.
And that
So
was
yeah,
conscious. We literally designed it so that he would start that with the hand that he needed to work with more, and the draw just worked. It just,
Mhm.
it just
Yeah.
worked.
And as a parent, you know, I think about all the different equipment that Hugo has, or, you know, the different doctors that you go to and the different things. And I know for us, what stands out are the people that you're not just like their next half hour. They're asking about you. They are
Mhm.
asking, they look at Hugo and ask him questions. They know that he can't use his voice to answer, but that's okay with them. They talk to Mark and I. They ask us. And so I feel like, I mean, you're like speaking my love language with that story, but that's just it. And if I were that mom, I would have been like sobbing. So I don't know if they were, but I think it's that idea of seeing a child and a family as this whole piece and this whole story. And that's what builds, it takes what you're doing from we're building this incredible piece of equipment to we are building a community of people. And it's the creative people that you're bringing around the table to do the builds. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that probably the families that you are building for also stay involved and become involved and connect with each other in different ways too. And I think that when organizations are able to just like pull all those pieces together, the fun piece, the creative piece, the community piece,
Mhm.
that's from a parent's perspective, that is what stands out.
Mhm.
That is
Yeah.
always what we are looking for, is someone to just like walk next to us on this
Right.
journey and just be there and
Yeah.
listen to us and listen to our child. So I think, you know, it's just so amazing for you guys to be able to have all those pieces coming together.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I always talk about with adaptive sports is the sense of community and you know, being a young person wanting to compete, but also being around peers that are going through things that I've gone through. You know, seeing someone with a disability that's my age when I was in high school wasn't something that I usually did. Or you know, I had a select couple of friends at my high school, but I that was all I knew. You know, most of my friends were able-bodied, and being able to engage with people at a soccer tournament or something like that was groundbreaking for me. To feel like I was a part of something, or that I wasn't alone. And I think that you know, sports aren't for everybody. You know, and you know, if you are much more into like the artistic side of things, which I have become a lot more interested in as I've gotten older. But this is a great outlet for a lot of people. And you know, you don't even need to be designing stuff for yourself. You can be working for other people, or vice versa. You know, if you need something, you can always head to Adaptive Design and come up with some really cool solutions. So, and I know you guys see that in your work, but we just want to say thank you and applaud you for
Yeah,
the community building that you guys do around here. It's incredible.
it is.
Well, I will say thank you for those kind words, but I will also say that just seeing the reactions and interactions with the families when they're part of this process
Mhm.
is more thank you than I could ever need. So just be aware of that. Like
Yeah.
you mentioned, the whole concept of the interaction, even among the family members. So it was amazing. One project that we did, it evolved over time as the family was working with us from a prone stander, which is the child sort of leans against the side of the stander. And mom brought the child the first time. And after a couple of sessions, once we got it built and she saw the artist, the same young lady that made the stirrup for us, she started drawing this big butterfly on one side of it, because I think that's what the family was sort of interested in.
Mhm.
And mom got so involved in that painting and the artistry that she kept bringing back the siblings to work on that project with them. So it was just so fun to watch. It's just heartwarming to see
Yeah.
the opportunity for even the siblings to get involved and work with them.
Well,
So it's very
and,
cool.
and-
Well, to the extent that we even added on the front side of that standard. Go ahead, Connor.
I was just gonna say, yeah, make sure you don't forget
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
All right, so yeah, and thanks to Lisa Neville, who you guys have worked with in the past, and she's one of our great volunteers, and we love her here. And she was part of that build as well, and us just working with the family and Lisa, and I think it might have been Lisa's idea, is seeing the siblings there. She's like, do you want them to engage and play while she's using this? Because we can just cut a hole out of the other side, make a cardboard seat perch to go on the opposite end, and this what became
Amazing.
was a stander, a prone stander, became a stander with a play table on the top, where she could stand and her sisters and other siblings could pull the chair out from the other side, sit with her, and engage in play activities. And yeah, so it's always a conceptual type of project where it evolves as we are creating it in real time, and it's really fun. And it's all based around that unique user that it's being built for. So these are always one-off solutions that are custom to that end user. And just to touch on Peyton's point, and again, we're getting to that community aspect, is I see a lot of people, and in today's world, we're so kind of in our own little hole and world, and we're not engaging. We're on social media so much, but we're not engaging in person. And this is such an amazing opportunity, I think, here. I got involved as a volunteer for the first year and a half, and I mean, it's grown into this, and just to come out, find like-minded people that are doing work that is just so rewarding. Like Tracy said, we don't need any thank you. This is amazing. This is such a great opportunity we have to be in the roles we're in and be able to work with these families and awesome people from around the community and get to know one another. Again, it's that community aspect of it. And Rory, just the families too, getting the families around one another. And that was great early on, and something that's unfortunately COVID is, took a hit on us in that regard, is being able to have the volunteers and the families all in the workshop meeting and one another and engaging, and families saying, oh, we're not in this alone. Like, there's another family that's going through something very similar, and they can connect that way, and connect outside of adaptive design, just as families, and kind of a community aspect of that. But I, like you had said, families typically were coming back. We had some families coming and building for other families, not for just their family, which was really neat to see. And COVID did take a hit on us that way. And we've gotten creative like we do. And we're trying to do a little different approach to keep things safe. And I guess it's a nice transition here to the event coming up next week is we're holding a virtual build event. Where we're making kits that can go out to some families, clinicians, and they can build along with us in real time virtually to get their hands in and involved in this adaptive design approach, where we've got all the parts and pieces to make a dynamic rocking perch for kiddos, and I think it's going to be really fun. It's new for us. It's different, but we're going to give it a shot. And
Is this like your practice rounds? You're
Yeah.
like, okay, we're on a session. We're all talking.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
you guys sound great so far, so keep it up for next week. So that's gonna be Thursday next week, right?
It'll be Thursday, yep, April 22nd, and it'll
How
be
can we
from
tune into it?
5 till 7 p.m.
Okay.
So we're going to try to do the same thing. We'll have it up on our Facebook page.
Cool.
For those that will be actually taking part in the building, which we've pretty much maxed out at this point. For the kits we're able to put out and engage with individuals, it's going to be 10 kits that we're going to be making of these rocking perches, and that'll be through Eventbrite. They'll get an invite, and we'll be doing a live Zoom where they can actually, if they have questions while they're building, they can ask us, and we can all have that nice community approach to it.
Yeah.
We're all building
that's great.
together. But Trace, I don't know if you might be able to kind of hold up some of those parts and pieces to just give an idea of
Sure.
kind of what we'll be doing. So Tracy
Sure.
was very busy with his own CNC that he put together over COVID.
What's a CNC for those that don't know?
It's a milling machine that well, Tracy, I'll let you tackle that.
So yeah, it's a milling machine and a router sort of put hybrid together, but in a large format. So I can actually cut out some of the larger parts for some of our pieces. So
Cool.
typically, as Connor mentioned, all of our devices, all of our solutions are sort of one-offs. However, most of them sort of evolve out of a basic carcass. So what we've done now is, well, let me back up. Originally, when we would build these devices in the shop, all of it was a one-off. So we were recreating the wheel every time. Like we would draw out our plans with rulers and pencils and, straight edges. Whereas I kind of started looking at it going, there's efficiencies that we can bring into this. So the CNC router allows us to, let me see, can we see this? This is basically the kit for that perch.
Cool.
And each of these are individual pieces that are cut out on the CNC router. But again, it's just the basic carcass of the device prior to all of the evolution and customization that happens. So we're trying to get it so that we can jumpstart this process and do a lot of the laborious work that's not creative. And then when we get all our volunteers and our super skilled people, we can then focus on customizing that device beyond the basic carcass. So for this Thursday, there will be a kit like this. We're actually going to, what other parts? There are also some 3D printed parts. I'm going to step out of the camera just for a second. I'll show you those as well.
Sure. Well,
I
Tracy
feel like
did
we
it.
should have put like a GoPro on Tracy's
I
forehead,
love
and he
that
could have
idea.
just like walked around to the
No, I mean,
studio.
we got a
I
week.
know, right?
We have a
should've
week
done that.
until the build next week. We might be able to link that up.
Good. We can make
Next-
that.
Next time, Connor, I'm sorry, I'm going to have a GoPro stuck on my head. So there we go.
Yes,
Perfect.
perfect idea, Rory. I love it.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. And
I just-
Rory, I see your, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, please, Tracy, go ahead.
Rory, I see your face, but that's, when I talk about being a gadgeteer, my kids have a photo of me one time with a phone handset rubber banded to the side of my head
Love it.
while I was working with a technician because I needed both hands. So
Of course.
look, we've
Well,
been
Tracy,
crazy.
when you stepped out of the camera, I said we should have had a GoPro on your head. So that's
there
why I
you
got,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, that's
Great thoughts. So anyway, the handles that are on the sides of these perches so that you can just carry them around real easily. We could make those and finish them with our cardboard finishing techniques. But again, we have the 3D printer. That's just done the same way every time. So Connor came up with a design that we can now 3D print these two parts. My router cuts an opening for them, and then they just
Look right in.
snap together, and then it's a nice finished handle. So it's a way for us to bring high tech and low tech together
Yeah.
and gain efficiencies to get the ultimate low cost solutions
Yeah.
for people. Like this handle might be $10 if you bought the thing pre-designed. We throw them in. It's an extra that we can do.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible to see. When I was first involved with adaptive design, the finishing work with the brown paper bag and using Elmer's glue to finish it off. It's so cool to see, just how things slowly but surely evolve, and that just kind of blew my mind. Just the idea of the finishing work being done with a 3D printer is great. It's so cool to me. But at the same time, if a family doesn't have a 3D printer, there's other options that can be done that are low tech. And I think that's the cool part about adaptive design, is that it fits the user, and it's not like the user has to adapt to a specific style. It's whatever works for the family or for the individual. So
Yeah.
I love that.
If you don't mind me jumping in,
Go ahead.
is that, again, jumping back to community. We've also linked up with a program called Makers Making Change out of Canada, and they've created chapters all over Canada and the U.S. from West Coast to East Coast, and we're the chapter for Central New York here, and that encourages their kind of ideas to find all those makers in the community, and instead of having like one place like adaptive design doing everything, is we rope in all those people that want to have that skill, have a skill in some type of tech, and want to do something good with it, and rope them into the process, and find the people that have a need and link them up together. So we've been working with them some too, and so things that are a little more technical, assistive technology based, we can kind of go through that avenue too. And we're trying to get some of the maker spaces involved in some of the school programs, the school tech programs in the area for the high schools and the colleges involved in this too. So if anyone out there is interested and is a maker or a teacher or something for a maker, reach out to us, because we can tackle these projects as a community approach, and all work together.
And would they reach out directly to you, Connor, or because we can link all this kind of below?
I was just gonna say.
So
This is
yeah,
my
definitely
typing.
ariseinc.org they can go to. They can hit me up through my email. That's probably the easiest way to make a request, and that's just cmcgow at ariseinc.org.
Okay.
And that can all be found on the website as well.
We'll be linking all that stuff.
Perfect. And if anyone wants some assistive technology based equipment, that can be found on Makers Making Changes website. They can look through. They have all different types of devices listed, and they can look through that, and they can always request one there, or just come directly to us.
Okay.
And the Makers Making Change is a great transition to our next Family Fun series. Well done, Connor. Where we will be talking to Arise Adaptive Design again. So that's going to be awesome. We're going to be talking about Switch toys, Switch activated toys, Switch regulators, something like that.
So it would be, battery.
I'm not a
interrupters.
gadgeteer.
That's fine. Battery interrupters, and how to run a simple battery interrupter at home. And we can assist with adaptive switches. We just had a big virtual adaptive switch build-a-thon last month. And how to integrate that with different toys to make it functional and usable by anyone.
So if anyone's wondering what that is, a lot of battery operated toys have very tricky buttons a lot of the time to hit. This process kind of interrupts that and makes it. We'll be doing kits with bigger switches that are easier to hit correct. Big buttons and switches and different things like that are much easier to hit than some of these toys that have really tiny ones. So that's going to be really exciting. Don't want to give away too much about it because we are going to be talking again next month. So really excited about that. We're going to have to wrap up pretty soon, as we've been talking for almost 45 minutes, which is awesome. It's felt like about 2 to me because this topic is so cool. And Connor and Tracy are both so engaging and obviously have so much passion overflowing from it that, as Connor said, you could talk for 2 hours about just one of the minor details we mentioned earlier. So I think we could talk all day and night, and we wouldn't get bored, clearly. So yeah, just to start things off in terms of ending things, I just wanted to thank you guys again for the conversation, but also the incredible resource that you provide Syracuse and the surrounding areas. Such a cool way to bring community together. People working with their hands is obviously a different way to change the conversation. And getting everybody in the same room at the same time, also helpful. So hopefully COVID can slowly but surely fade out and we can get back to our big time builds.
Absolutely.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as Rory mentioned as well, we'll be posting out some of these resources that we've talked about. Check out the fitness inclusion website. We'll post the link once the guidebook is officially uploaded, for a great way to just get a peek into the design process.
And the session next Thursday is on the Arise Adaptive Design Facebook page. Is that
Yes, it'll
correct?
be
Okay.
both should be there, and Arise CNY's
Okay.
Yeah.
page.
The Fitness
Okay.
Inclusion Network will certainly be posting that. We'll do a build up to that to make sure that everybody's on board and ready to go for that one. So,
Awesome.
Same here.
so check our stuff, check out our Eyes Adaptive Design. David's Refuge, as always, thank you so much.
Always happy to be here. You never
Yeah.
have to coach me to talk.
Well, thank you for
All right.
highlighting the program and
This is awesome.
and having us around for this great conversation. It was a lot of fun.
We're
Yeah,
excited to
looking
have you
forward to
back
meeting
next
you.
month too. I might, by the way, have like a special guest star from my family on that one too, because
Perfect.
we are big Switch people here.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Big fans of creative ways to use switches.
I like it. Yeah, that would be wonderful.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Take
care,
care.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much.